Also, we have the worst theme song in all of podcasting. So if you want to give
This
us your opinion on that, that'd be great.
this
Word.
might be the one, Jacob. We have a running bet on who's going to log off of Zoom as soon as they hear the theme song and how bad it
Was
is.
it just the N word over and over again? Or
No,
No.
that would actually be
it,
better than what we have.
it might
oh,
be
okay.
better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
Excited.
musically, there's a lot of creative freedoms happening here.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might actually really like it. Who knows? But we'll get your opinion on it.
Freedom's not free, so let's
Yeah.
hear it.
All
Hell
right.
yeah, let's go, Texas.
All right, here we go. In three, two, one.
Just drop that ass, bitch. It's open micers in the house. Pop that pussy with that open micers logo in your mouth. Jason with his bald ass head. Jacob looking in bed. It's open micers, bitch. Heard what I said. Drop that ass. Open micers in the house. Drop that ass, pop that pussy. Open micers in the house. Open micers in the house. Open micers is a mouse. Drop that ass, pop that pussy. Open micers in the house. The mic is now open.
That's right. The mic is now open. My name is Jason Robbins.
I'm Jacob Craig, and this is going to be our last guest episode for the entire year of 2023. And I'm very excited to cap it off with a fantastic comic from the Austin scene. You know them for opening for Louis C.K. and Tim Dillon, being the very first Texas panelist on Kill Tony, for all of the best comedy festivals in the world, including Skankfest. It is the one and only Arielle Isaac Norman. How are you doing today? How are you doing?
Great. Just did a brunch comedy show here in Austin. It was really fun.
Nice.
So, made some fans out of a 15-year-old boy and his girlfriend and their family. So
All right.
all
So
in a
that's where
day's work.
Austin is at right now, is brunch comedy shows with 15-year-olds.
Austin is a lot of places. There's a lot going on here. One of very many shows, but yeah, he was cute because he was a little white boy with an Asian family. So I was just like making a bunch of jokes about that and about him. So because I'm dating an Asian woman right now, as you might notice by her name being in the little screen here, and so I know how to make Asians laugh. It's pretty great.
Yeah. Xbox achievement unlocked. Make Asians laugh.
So before we move on, that our theme song just gets worse and worse for me every single week. Thoughts on the theme song from our guest?
Do you not, is it purposeful to not have any background music for that?
Well,
'Cause I
for
feel like
some
a beat would
reason
be,
there is, but for some
Yeah.
reason my soundboard doesn't play nice with Zoom, and all you can hear is the voice and not the acoustic guitar
okay, it sounded
accompaniment
like
with
a little, there was like a little staticky noise in the background of it, but I didn't know I thought that was just a glitch, but okay, that's maybe the background.
I don't know how to fix that. I'm not that technically
Okay.
Yeah,
proficient.
when it goes out to the public, it is on the episode, but for us
Oh,
here,
okay.
like we just hear the lyrics.
It's probably just like one's in the right ear and one's in the left ear, something like that.
Something. I'm not sure. I'll figure it out one of the I'll be like 90 before I figure it out and the show will
Right.
be over.
Also, I mean, I feel like because the only rhyme, it happens a number of times, is house and mouth. If that's going to be the only rhyme, it should be like a true rhyme. We should maybe a few more things could line up in that song, but
Well,
just
Yeah.
it's just
Well, he
house and
did-
mouth over and over
He
again.
did rhyme my bald ass head with Jacob being inbred. So he did
That's
he
a
did
pretty
rhyme
good
it.
Okay,
rhyme.
but even then, it's like ass head inbred. Like it'd be good to have the last two syllables rhyme.
Yeah, right.
That feels better.
Look, to be fair, Jason told me that he wanted a new theme song for the show because we had just this like metal track that him and a friend made for years.
Hmm.
And so I reached out to our community because we've had a lot of musicians on. I said, who wants to like make us a theme song?
And they all said no.
Yeah, and they all said no, except for Mark Simmons, who did our theme song. And he
Oh, that
DM'd
wasn't one of
me.
y'all. I assume that was you, Jacob, with your little rap. I thought that was
No,
you.
I wish I was talented enough to rap like that.
Okay. What an ambition.
But he DM'd me asking about like what kind of stuff we want, and I said, dude, just give us whatever. You can make it funny, what you do whatever you want. And then 5 minutes later, he sent me that. It
Yeah.
took him 5 minutes to make that.
Yeah, that makes me feel better about the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, one of his best songs, to be honest, he's a very bad musician.
Oh, okay, good. All right. One of his best songs. What an honor.
I mean, it's kind of a banger. It should go
Yeah.
on the album. Uh,
I
but
wish I could have heard the accompanying music. I think that would have really enhanced the
Yeah,
experience for me.
you'll have to listen to
yeah,
the episode when it drops
Gotcha.
on Wednesday, because he actually was supposed to do a full album's worth of theme songs for us, so we
Well, that
could
would have been 30
actually,
minutes of his
yeah.
time.
Well,
Yep.
no, we would have had a different one for
yeah,
every
right.
week, but then we could have actually released it as a bad theme song album and could have
Mm.
generated some cash. But he got lazy and only sent us two. We have a rap version, a hip hop version, and an acoustic version. That's all we got out of him.
Hmm. This is making me think I need a theme song for my podcast. So maybe I should just write one. I hadn't thought about just spending 5 minutes
Yeah.
and pumping out whatever can happen.
Well, we could
Or
get you in touch with Mark Simmons, and he can make you
Yeah,
one.
he
I
would
might
love to do it.
I might do my own work on that.
You might be better at music than he is at music.
Or at least better at rhyming.
Right. Better at
Poor
writing
Mark.
something in 5 minutes.
Every week he
Yeah.
has to hear people critique his awful songs.
Yeah, no one's ever gonna make y'all another better song since this is how it's
Mm.
going for the artist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one's gonna make us another one. What's funny is we had our buddy Neil Rubenstein on, and I told him to like send us a punk version of that song. And I told him who was on. I was like, hey, like Neil was in Taking Back Sunday and
Hmm.
Brand New, and he's like used to be a really good professional musician. You should
Hmm.
send us like a way better punk version of that song. And he wouldn't do it. And Neil tore it apart and it like broke his heart.
Oh, well,
It
I
was
wish Neil
hilarious.
had written y'all a song. But what are you
Yeah,
gonna
we
do?
should reach out to Neil to write us a theme song. I don't know. I feel like our theme song is a good snapshot of like what open mic comedy kind of is.
That's a
Because
good
it's like a
point.
song you would hear at an open mic is our theme
Right.
song.
All right, you're setting the tone. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
'cause
just
I've
bring
said it.
people's expectations way down.
I've said it a million times. Open mic comedy is hit or miss, but when you see somebody walk on stage carrying a guitar, that's an instant, just like, oh, fuck this guy. I don't want to hear this.
Yeah, that's rough because I mean, I don't know where y'all live, but there are oftentimes mics that are open to different, things like music,
Yeah.
poetry, comedy. And a lot of times it's great for comics because they'll give you 10 minutes because it's tailored for people to do two songs or whatever. And so that can be great for comics. But it's like if you're a music comedian, it would be better to go to more of those because then that way they're used to the music thing and just being half forward most of the time. But then also like then if it's actually kind of funny, then there's a bonus. But yeah, doing it at a comedy thing. I don't know. Then again, if you're just watching 20 comics get up there, telling bad jokes, it's kind of fun if someone mixes it up. If it's only one guy
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Well,
it,
they
you know,
keep it pretty separated here. Like the musical open mics are pretty separate from the comedy open mics. They rarely
where
ever
do y'all
cross
live?
over. We live on the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Okay. Well, maybe you should try bombing what's the word I'm looking for? But like just ambushing the music mics and asking, "Hey, can
Yeah.
I do comedy?" Because a lot of times they really are like, "Oh yeah, sure, that would be so fun," and then they'll let you have more time, and they'll just be so entertained because they're so used to just having to sit through other people's music, and most of the time, like we think comedy open mics are bad, but music open mics, it's like, yeah, there are gems here and there, but at least to me, at least bad comedy is funny in the American Idol kind of way.
Yeah.
Like, especially if they're not your friends. Like, I would love, I don't do this, but I always think about like how fun it would be to take my girlfriend and make her watch an actual open mic and like just laugh at the people.
Yeah.
If you can laugh at them, if you're not worried about, hurting people's feelings you care about, then that's fun. But with music, it's like, unless it happens to be really good, most of the time it's like, I just am bored. I
Yeah.
don't care. Please play a cover. I don't,
Right.
Jacob, do you remember once there was an open mic here, and this kid got up. He wasn't even old enough to be in the bar. He was like 17 or so,
I
and
remember
he
this.
got up. He brought in a keyboard. Took him like 10 minutes to set up. Just completely brought the whole open mic to a grinding stop. Then he sets up, and then he literally does Bo Burnham for like 15 minutes.
and kills. He
Yeah.
kills.
But
Killed
he's
the
just
room.
doing Bo Burnham's material.
He was
Yes.
he was doing like Bo Burnham's like special that had just come out at that time.
I mean, that's the thing is like a lot of people kind of do think that comedy is that, right? And it used to be, many decades ago, comics would kind of you share acts, people would all kind of learn, and it was just like, here's a joke, here's a joke. So still, when someone hears you do stand up and they're like, oh, I'm funny, and then they tell you a joke that is a street joke they've heard, they're like, oh, that's not, that we're up here doing original material. Like we're not in that. So maybe he's 17. He probably just was like, oh, okay. This is what it is. You do other people's acts for a while until you have your own thing.
Yeah. We
More
never
than
saw
likely.
him again.
Hopefully y'all
after that,
slapped him
though.
or something after. Did anyone?
He got
Did he-
banned from the mic because
Yeah.
he
Okay.
did someone else's stuff.
Yeah, great. There you
So
go.
he got just insta banned. He's probably never done comedy ever again.
Mhm.
But I remember one time, this was probably before I even did comedy. Like I had a group of buddies who went to like there's a comedy mic, and then down the street on the same street there's a music mic that at the time happened right before the comedy mic. So like a bunch of them just went into there and they ambushed it and were like, hey, like we're comedians, can we just get like 5 minutes of stage time each? They said, oh yeah, that's perfectly fine as long as you keep it PG-13 because like it's music, we don't want anything crazy happening. And I
Mhm.
think like and they got like a bunch like all comedy banned from there because one of them decided to hump the stool,
Yeah.
like literally do the most hack thing ever of like an act out of like having sex with the stool when they explicitly said PG-13.
That's why when I used to do that kind of thing and I would know about a mixed mic or a music mic, that I would ask to do a set on, I wouldn't tell other comics about it because it's
Yeah.
like, one, you don't want 30, brand new comics showing up and being shitty. And yeah, then they're going to tell a bunch of fucked up jokes. Could be just racist or sex, humping the stool. It could be all kinds of things. And you're like, that's just all right. You're going to ruin it for the rest of us.
Yeah, that is a good representation of who we are as a whole, but maybe don't come straight out with that.
Yeah. Warm them up.
Like you don't hump the stool on the first date. You gotta,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
maybe do like 5 minutes on airplane food or some
Exactly.
bullshit like that to ease people in.
Yeah.
Before you just long stroke a piece of wood.
So Arielle, I think you're like our Jacob, like our 10th person that from Altercation Fest in a row to be on the show. So what was your experience at Altercation Fest like this year?
Oh, Altercation Fest was great, as always. Fun to see old friends. A lot of people I hadn't really seen since before the pandemic, so that was good. And always fun to see Mo Alexander, and
Boo.
boo, yeah. He and his woman brought what are they, possums or something?
Possums, yeah.
I went back to because I had missed them whenever they brought them, so I went back to their hotel room to see the possums.
Danger.
So yeah,
It's
know if y'all
dangerous
have
to
ever
go back
been
to
to-
Mo's hotel room.
yeah. Because I've been to his place in Memphis before, so I knew what I was in for.
Yeah, we did a show with Mo a couple of weeks ago, and we were in the green room, and Mo's like, y'all want to come back to the hotel after the show? And I was just like, you know what? I want to remember the next 3 days, so no, I don't want to go back to the hotel.
Oh, see, I'm not even trying to, be drinking and everything. It's just, I just wanted to see the possums. And indeed, they had, 3 possums with them.
Too many possums.
That's too many.
It's a few too many.
That's
Few
three.
too
roll
many
deep
trash
in
can
possums.
animals.
Yeah.
But it was good. I'm trying to remember the highlights. Oh, there was that one guy. He had just come out with an album not long ago. Tall, big, maybe
Sam
redhead.
Miller.
Sam Miller, yes. I think
Love him.
he was my fun. I don't think I'd ever seen him before, so he was really good. Oh, and there was another chick who claimed to be asexual, like a young black chick from maybe Atlanta. She claimed to be asexual. She was so because I talked to her because she was telling me about how much she likes watching dicks get hard and big, and then I was like, and then she has a boyfriend, and we have this whole thing where I was like, I don't think you're asexual, but
Yeah.
but she was so funny, just like the way she performed and like walked around the stage. Oh, I gotta look up, try to figure out what her name was because I
Yeah.
don't want to give a shout out to someone without actually.
Yeah,
shouting
definitely
them
give her a
out.
shout out. We love Sam Miller. We hear he eats pelican eggs. I don't know if that's a vicious rumor started by someone else or not, but we hear he does eat pelican eggs.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's a vicious rumor. What's wrong with eating pelican eggs?
That's a fantastic bit he does about when he was a homeless man in Olympia,
Oh,
Washington. Somebody did start the rumor that he eats pelican eggs.
oh, okay. I just figured I was like, maybe he's from somewhere, maybe somewhere in the Midwest. That's what
I
they
mean,
eat. That's a delicacy. It's nice.
I mean, if you're gonna have a rumor circulated around about you, I think eating pelican eggs is probably the mildest thing that you
Yeah,
can
That sounds
have.
fancy to me. I love a duck egg. I love a quail egg. What's wrong with a pelican egg? Pelican
yeah.
sounds, it sounds like a treat.
And that's not even as bad as the stuff that he was doing as a homeless man in Olympia, Washington. Like that's not as bad as like the stories he told us about being homeless.
Does Olympia have a lot of homeless people?
They have one less now, I guess.
Yeah.
He's doing comedy.
Well,
I
that
don't know.
doesn't
So
preclude
you
being
said
homeless, but yeah.
so you said you like quail eggs. Here's a question because we always get in debates on this show with people about the merits of gas station food. So do
Okay.
you eat the pickled
What?
quail eggs that you come across in gas stations? Because that seems like something Jacob would eat too.
I would eat that. I don't know that I've ever gotten the pickled ones from gas stations. I mean, they have pickled ones also at like nice, cute, the places with the nice jars with the nice jams and things like that. But no, if I'm eating quail eggs, I'm usually just getting them at the store and cooking them myself. Like 99 Ranch, I don't know if you'll have that in Mississippi, probably not.
No.
Asian stores will have quail eggs, and they're pretty cheap. They're kind of annoying, but you can just drop them if you're making ramen. You can just kind of drop them in toward the end, and they quickly become, soft boiled, hard boiled because they're
See,
so little.
I'm thinking of the dirty gas stations where they're going to use the same tongs to get the quail eggs out that they've
Yeah.
used on like every other pickled whatever they
That's how
have.
they season them. You gotta use the
Yeah.
same tongs.
I'm not really into gas station food too much. I do,
Thank you.
I do go on the road and eat, but like, I mean, I'm bringing RX bars with me and bags of nuts, and I'm bringing, or I'll stop at the store and get one of those salads that you can just in the bag shake up, and I'm just eating it like that,
See, Jacob, you can eat salad on the go. Like it
You really
doesn't have to
can.
be.
I
I
know
don't
all
eat
you all
salad at
you
home.
unhealthy comic. Everyone talks about the road's so hard to eat healthy. And I agree, especially if you're in the south of the country and y'all's neck of the woods, it sucks. You're driving around and just like every
Yeah,
billboard, everything you look at, it's all brown, it's all meat.
yeah.
Anywhere you stop, the only vegetables are deep fried. It's rough, but you
Yeah.
gotta just prepare a little bit ahead of time and then, you get those salads. It's better to stop at a Walmart or whatever and get the salad and then shake it up and eat that than to eat whatever. And you get to the venue, and if there is food, it's only deep fried garbage. And
Mhm.
or one time the comic was like nice, and he like went in to get me food, but he just brought me like American Chinese food, just like fried stuff with rice. I was like, there's not a single, and I'm like, I'm on the road. Don't you know I want vegetables. Like, I don't know. But I know you guys are all, you don't care about your
See,
health.
I love vegetables. I love to try and eat healthy. Jacob, I tried to
Uh,
we do Patreon content every month, and there was one month where I tried to cook healthy food for Jacob.
Hmm.
What did I cook for you, Jacob? I had some Brussels sprouts, some roasted Brussels sprouts,
and
um,
asparagus. Yeah.
asparagus, and I even made him some sausage and peppers, but I made it
Hmm.
out of turkey sausage, so it's somewhat healthier.
Yeah.
Jacob couldn't hardly eat any of it. Like it
Mhm.
ruined him for like a week.
Yeah, I threw
Just
up.
You threw up. Oh, you're one of those like
Yeah.
kids who like didn't eat anything novel as a kid, and now you're just
Nope.
kind of fucked for life.
Yeah, so I put the Brussels sprouts in my mouth and I didn't know that they were salty and the texture of it like kind of felt like a ball sack, so I threw up.
How do you know what a ball sack feels like in your mouth?
Yeah, we'll go to the next question.
Okay. It just
I
wouldn't ever crossed my mind, but all right.
well, I mean, I know what it feels like, so just imagining that in my mouth and
Yeah, see, I don't even know what they feel like, but also like Brussels sprouts have layers that are coming off. What's going on with the balls you've been touching?
Yeah,
I
if you
feel
get
like
if you get some balls with layers coming off, Jacob, you need to
that's
go
Wait,
get
your
checked.
balls don't shed, brother?
you have leprosy.
It's winter. Your balls aren't
You're not
shedding
getting
right
your new
now.
spring balls in next year.
Yeah. New from Manscaped, spring balls.
I have
No, but
nightmares about that now.
I haven't been lucky enough to really like tour out of the South so far. I've just kind of done like little runs in the South and in Panama City, Florida one time. I went to a Dodge store there. And if you've ever been to a Dodge store, it's like they do fried chicken and pretty much just all fried junk. And it was like maybe midnight after a show. And I get back to the guy's house we're staying at, and everyone that's like a local comic comes in and they're like, Jacob, which Dodge store did you get that chicken from? After I'd already eaten half the box. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, the one that's closest to here, just like 5 minutes up the road. And they're like, well, stop eating it right now because that Dodge store is a cover up for selling crack cocaine. And I
That
got
doesn't mean they're
violently.
not. Oh,
Oh no,
they're.
I got violently ill the next day. I think I ingested crack cocaine.
What did you get a high from it?
No, but I was puking and other stuff too.
Why would they? Why are they sprinkling the crack on the fried chicken? I don't think that's how it
I
works.
No, I
thought
don't
that's
think.
just
I think it's that. I think that maybe the crackheads in the kitchen cooking the chicken are
Yeah.
not as
something like
worried
that.
about
There was some
being.
kind of cross contamination
Yeah.
happening, but
Yeah.
like anyone only ever goes there because I was wondering why they were all looking at me weird when I walked in and just went like got a Mike's Hard and just kind of waited to get
Yeah.
checked out. They were
Well,
just kind of staring at me weird.
I think
like,
they
what are
what
you
they
doing?
did was they probably used the quail egg tongs to get the chicken out.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yeah, to administer the crack cocaine to my chicken.
Oh man. Well, I feel like they shouldn't have looked at you. They should have told you. They should have taken one look at you and said, you know what, this guy's probably about to try to go eat that Dodge food. We better tell him to avoid the crack one. This was on them.
Yeah,
That was cruel of you not to assume that you were going to go eat the crack
yeah,
Dodge
they
chicken.
should they should have by all means known. To be fair, I
Mhm.
also ate at the show, so they probably didn't think I was going to do it twice.
That's okay. Listen up, folks. If you see someone who looks like Jacob eating at the show, that doesn't mean they're not about to go to the crackhead fried chicken place.
Yeah,
Help your friend, help someone out.
I'm probably definitely going to the crackhead fried chicken place to get a little extra something something before
Mhm.
bedtime.
Extra
Oh, yeah.
family meal before bedtime.
It was the spicy wings, and I was wondering why like there was such little food out in their stuff, and the guy was kind of just like, "Which one you want?" I was like,
Ugh.
I don't know.
Gotta keep the front going.
Reminds me of this
Right.
donut shop that opened up down the street from where I used to live. It just all it said was donuts on the sign, and it was there for like 6 weeks or so. I'm like, I'm gonna go in there and try some of their donuts. And I walk in, and they have this glass counter there. Nothing else behind. Like the whole rest of the store is like kind of empty. This one guy sitting behind the counter on his phone looked pretty shady. They had a glass like case there in the front, and inside of it was just a 12-pack of Walmart donuts. And I walked in, I'm
Mm.
like, nope. I turned around and walked out. So yeah, that was a drug front. They didn't last too much longer.
That's surprising. You think drugs would do well.
Yeah, you'd
If
think.
anyone could keep their business open, the margins on drugs are much better than
Well,
donuts.
I mean, they could have at
I know
least
multiple comedy
tried.
venues that are funded by the cocaine den that's in the green room.
Yeah, honestly, more comedy clubs probably should get into the drug market because they can struggle.
That's what
Or the
comedy
two-item
needs.
minimum
More
should include
drugs.
the drugs. Maybe the two-item
Yeah.
minimum, yeah, the option should be like, if you don't want a bottled water or beer or shitty chicken tenders, like we do have weed and cocaine and Molly in the back. Just the whole audience orders Molly. In the future, when everything's, legal,
Yeah,
we're just gonna have audiences who are all on Molly watching. That could be good.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be a great show.
We should do that now when
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not legal.
Yeah. Instead of, there's lots of comedy shows where it's themed, stone versus drunk versus sober or whatever,
no.
getting high in the middle of the thing or whatever. But like, yeah, it's the theme where the audience is all not I've definitely done plenty of shows where the audience is all high on weed, but like a theme where the audience is all on shrooms or acid or Molly or I don't know, maybe not ketamine. It's not I don't think that's
Yeah.
gonna be a good.
Yeah, I was about to make a Matthew Perry joke, but I don't think I should.
I know. Yeah, because
Aw.
I mean, it's on a more serious note. It's like I know so many. Ketamine has gotten so popular,
Oh
and
yeah,
so I mean, I'm almost kind of glad that he died of ketamine because I think it might serve as a good, useful thing for people to go. You might want to slow down a little bit on just like it's okay to just do ketamine every fucking day.
yeah. I think that's definitely one that people see as like a party drug, but can definitely kill you if you take too much of it.
Isn't that the one too where if you do it too much, I think it messes up your urinary tract or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. I can't remember the details, but it is like there's something like that that you'll notice if you take it too long, then you have to take a break. But then supposedly you're fine if you do take a break for long enough. And Matthew also had other issues going on. So it was like the combination of the ketamine, some health issues, and some other drugs that he was taking. But still, it's like so many of the people who do, ketamine are also doing a bunch of other drugs. And it's like, well, yeah, just remember, you got, you're rolling the dice.
Well, he had a
Right.
horror story when he was in rehab and his colon exploded, literally, because of all the drugs he was taking. Like he was so backed up that like his
Damn.
his colon like ripped, and they wouldn't take him to the hospital because they thought he was faking to get drugs. So he was there for like
That's
2 days
wild.
just in horrifying pain. I'm like, that's
Ugh.
a good reason not to do drugs right there.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny because usually drugs make me poop. So I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, right. He
Too many
should
downers, I guess.
they
Yeah,
should
I
have
guess.
bought him a little something, something from the Dodge store. That would have cleaned him
Yeah,
right
no
out.
kidding.
Yeah, a little Adderall to counteract his codeine or whatever's going on there.
Yeah,
Here,
just
eat
wean
these
him off of
quail
it.
eggs real quick. You'll get cleaned right out.
Yeah, go get the tongs. Get the
Get
tongs.
the tongs.
I
Rub
like
like a
imagining, like Gaston, how he said when he was a kid he ate 4 dozen eggs and he's grown to eat 5 dozen eggs. It's like always seems so impossible. But now I'm like, well, maybe they were quail eggs. Maybe he
yeah,
was just having dozens of little tiny quail eggs. That's
Maybe.
possible.
just little egg bites.
Yeah. Kind of sweet to think of Gaston with his little tiny baskets of quail eggs.
Yeah.
Redeeming qualities. Redeeming qualities for everybody.
I mean, I always kind of had a crush on Gaston as a kid, so I don't know.
And it always like creeped me out that he was like in this town with every single girl like swooning over him, and he was like, no, the weird one who reads books and pays attention to no one else will be mine.
Well, that's very, what guy kind of mentality. The
It's the
the
thrill of the
chase is the
hunt.
most
Yeah.
fun part. Yeah, you want what you can't have. That makes sense. You wouldn't understand, Jacob, but if you can have anyone, then now you want the forbidden fruit. So,
Yeah, right, right.
mhm.
Well, we're gonna get into some open micers questions now. We're gonna create a little bit of a timeline of your comedy journey. So, what I want to start off with first is where did you start comedy? How long ago? What year was it when you started comedy?
I started comedy in Boston in February of 2014. So I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary.
Nice.
Sweet. So, what was the scene like in 2014 Boston at this time?
The open mic scene anyway. I did some shows certainly my first year there because I moved to Austin in 2015, January of
Okay.
2015. So I was there for just under a year, and it was really great. I'm really glad that I started there and not just Austin because I learned a lot of like kind of professionalism and like there's such comedy history there that I think I got a different insight into comedy than the kind of Wild West that I went out to in Austin in 2015. But it was good. The only thing that I'll say is that most of the comics were pretty scripted. Um, just, you would see, and everyone was hustling. I can't really remember exactly how many open mics there were every night, but, something like there were probably two, three, four open mics that I know of at least that you could go to every night. And a lot of people were hustling and doing a lot. But I would see people telling the same jokes the same way every time. A lot, where they would finally change a little bit after a few weeks or months or something. And I mean, I still see that here sometimes in Austin, don't get me wrong, but I was always someone because I was very scripted in the beginning. I was very scripted. But because I felt so fucking lame, like saying the same shit all the time, because it was mostly a lot of these open mics, it's just other comics. And so in front of these people who I know have already heard it, like I just felt like an idiot to say the same shit the same way.
Yeah.
And so I would always write, like I kind of had a rule of thumb for myself where every time I did a set, I would have at least like 30% new material in it. Um, and then eventually I became, after a couple years, I became much less scripted and, went on that journey over a couple of years. Um, but so when I moved to Austin, and I was just having this conversation with someone today at that Sunday show, and, he was saying that, people are a lot less scripted here. And I was like, I actually kind of think that I deserve a lot of the credit for that because when I got to Austin, there was a fair amount of people just doing their act over and over again the same way. But I was always, changing it up and then eventually becoming much more free on stage, much more conversational, able to riff and do crowd work and all that. And so I think people, because the scene was smaller from 2015 to 2019, the scene in Austin was much smaller. And so, but not tiny by any means, and a really good scene in many ways. A lot of our kind of alumni have moved on to SNL and various other great things. But I think people started feeling really gay about like doing the same shit all over and over again because they would see me and you know what I mean? Like I was like pushing it all the time. Like I'm really pretty prolific in terms of writing. And so I would just, and I've always wanted to, I'm like, guys, it's a new era. This is not, that's the past. Like just doing your little act. Like if you watch the great comics, like we're moving on from that. Like you want it to be more like conversational, and it doesn't, not that it has to be actual conversation, but just being able to be free up there. You want to be able to be free in your thoughts and all the moves, your punchlines, whatever. But even some of the big laughs you're getting are not even on punchlines. It's because you know how to talk funny. I don't remember who has that quote, but something about like there's people who say funny things and then there's people who say things funny.
Yeah.
And being able to trust yourself that you can say things funny, even if you get off script, even if trying new jokes out and you don't have it all worked out yet. That's to me where the magic is. So I think Boston, like I said, had a lot of professionalism, but then what I knew I wanted was to become free on stage. But I mean, Boston was also a really great, like supportive place, I would say. There wasn't a ton of like at least that I was involved. I didn't see a bunch of drama or like kind of backbiting or anything. It felt like it really was a nice community. People liked each other and supported each other, and people were starting shows, kind of figuring out how to have independent shows, and everything was great. And the comedy studio was my favorite part of the Boston scene. It used to be in Harvard Square, and now I think they moved to Somerville, but they might be back to Harvard Square at a new place. I don't know. I haven't been there in years now, but it was really great. The thing that I liked best about the Boston scene is that, especially at an actual shows, audiences were really intelligent and well educated, and you could just make references. Like cultural literacy was high, and so when I moved to Austin, like kind of one of the first things that I noticed, and don't tell Austinites this, is that they're not as smart as they think they are. They're not as
Yeah.
literate as they think they are. And so I just was like, oh, I kind of have to dumb things down a bit for people to get things. And it was really nice to have that in Boston where you could trust, whatever literary reference you made or kind of art world reference, whatever people would get. And then I went to Austin and I was like, okay. And also like in Boston, because it's such a liberal city and has such a long history of being a liberal city, then it was like, of course, we're going to make fun of liberal stuff because that's who we are. We're going to make fun of the excesses and the hypocrisies on this side of things. In Austin, because it's a purple blue city in a red state, and I noticed this in a lot of purple blue cities in red states like Nashville, and there's a little bit more sensitivity about that because it doesn't feel like, oh, this is a safe space. We're all a bunch of liberals making fun of ourselves. People are always kind of looking around going, and especially, pretty soon it became like, who are the Trump people around here? Are we sure we can be questioning liberal orthodoxies, or should we just keep it tight and not, not give fuel potentially to the other side?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like the sensitivity just got so ramped up after Trump became president. Like you could make jokes making fun of whatever side you're on, and it would be okay. But then after that, it was like, I don't want to make like I'm pretty liberal on the
Yeah,
liberal side, so I don't want to make liberal jokes because I don't want like super conservative people to think like I'm one of them. And I'm like, so I
right.
kind of try to just stay away from political stuff altogether.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you look like you, that's not a bad way to go.
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
get away with a lot more. But I try to read the audience. Like if I do think the audience is a little bit more conservative, like last night I was doing a show in a South Austin venue where I skipped a lot of my stuff right now that's about like gender and trans stuff because I'm like, I don't think they're ready for that. They might just take the wrong stuff out of that. So I just, steered away from doing that much of that. Did a little bit of it, kind of, but I did the easiest stuff, but I didn't do as hard hitting stuff because I didn't want to give fuel to that. But then if it's people where I'm like, these are people who can think more deeply about this and actually start to question what's wrong. Because when Trump won, I remember my point of view was, okay, liberals, Democrats, everyone think that like maybe it's time to think about what went wrong here and go, how did you lose to someone like Trump? Like obviously there must be we need to make our bed over here. We need to clean up our room. And instead, what a lot of people were saying is, no, we need to circle the wagons. We need to not criticize our side. We need to only say that side is stupid and bad. And that's going to be the answer to this. And I'm like, that's insane. And it has been insane. It has not gone well. I mean, Biden was able to pull out the 2020 election, but in part because of censorship from the tech companies that the blue team wanted. So, I mean, I don't think it's a great policy. I think that that's part of what comedians are for, is to help people to realize what they're getting wrong, is to use humor to show like, hey, here are the things that you're being hypocritical about. Here are the things that are your blind spots. And it helps them to, it's like we need to strengthen the ideas over here. And to strengthen them, you have to question them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think after Joe Biden has gotten in office too, like we're kind of back to a little bit to where how it was post-Trump or pre-Trump rather.
Yeah, plus because
like
everybody hates Biden, so it's easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone can get on stage and immediately unite the room by making fun of our Weekend at Bernie's president.
Yeah.
And so like that's such a nice thing because it was so political to say anything about Trump when Trump was there. But now we were like, no one likes Biden. So we can all come together on that.
Yeah.
I just think how united we'd be if Kamala Harris was the president.
Ooh, yeah.
Even fewer people like her.
Right.
Maybe that's who we should have be the president. Like the most useless person in the country. You know what I mean? Like only horrible people should be president. That way we can all agree. But like people we all agree are horrible. Can't be someone that some of us like because Trump's too funny. So some people are going to like him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I think Biden's just a joke factory right now too, because like he so obviously has dementia and they're so obviously just hiding it that if you just get like any joke I've ever done about Biden has been the biggest pop of my set.
Yeah.
Like no matter what part of the country I'm in, like it's not just in Mississippi. Like
to me, it's like saying Happy New Year after, especially I feel like the last couple of years people have gotten over it a little bit and we're all more okay with Christmas. But for a while there, it was one of those things where it was like, oh, if you're wishing a Merry Christmas, does that mean you're a white nationalist or something? And so New Year's became something where it's like, oh, wait, we can all say this to each other. It's okay. Hopefully the Chinese are okay with it. But I think everyone's okay with it,
Yeah.
And so to me, like making fun of Biden is like saying, Happy New Year, because it's like we're all okay. That's one we can all agree on. That's not necessarily political. Because if you say Happy Holidays, then are you avoiding saying Merry Christmas? But like with Biden, with New Year's, all right, that's for everybody.
See, that's what's so scary about it is because, Joe Biden's getting, his mind is going, he's still president, but he could still lose the next election because of
because
it.
No one can get him to not run. It doesn't make any sense.
But
I feel like there has to be some kind of plan unfolding and we're all supposed to think he's going to run, but then they're going to switch it out. I don't know.
But you listen to Trump and he's just as bad. Like his mind is going too, but the problem is, like you said, his shit gets funnier. So you watch it and you laugh and you're like, look at this fucking dude. But there are people out there just like, let's elect this fucking dude and it'll happen. It'll happen and it'll be 4 more years of me sitting in my house going, oh my God, are we all going to die today?
And this is why we need to write in my boy Kid Rock, okay? Kid Rock is going to unite this country. He's going to go, look, ba with a ba 2028. Is that when it is? I don't know.
Isn't he like already associated with Trump or whatever anyway? I don't think that's going to work for you. But I think it'll be great if we really do get a Biden-Trump rematch. I'm actually kind of hoping for that, but now that RFK is running as an independent, because I will vote for RFK for sure. I don't know if y'all have listened to him talk. I mean, I know there's been a lot of,
I try
campaigns
not
to
to
make.
listen to him talk.
Oh, I know it's difficult to listen to his voice, although
Hey,
his
I thought
surgery has made it a
JFK
lot better.
Jr. was supposed to be coming back from the dead. Whatever
Well,
happened
this
with
is pretty
that?
much him. This is, I mean, look, Bobby was an even better man than JFK. If anything, JFK, I'm a little whatever, but RFK's dad, Bobby, was amazing. And Robert, that's the thing. It's like the media has done such a good job that you guys all really do think that he's an anti-vaxxer and crazy and everything. Listen to literally any podcast of him talking for an hour or so, and you will be converted.
Yeah.
You know, read his book. I'm like, it's just one of those things of like, I can't believe you guys are still. What do you listen to NPR? Is that
Right.
where you getting your
I
news
mean,
from?
and he can't be an anti-vaxxer when COVID's not even real.
Yeah, well, no,
Like,
he's not. You can't be an anti-vaxxer when what you're saying is, hey, there are some things that they're adding to the vaccines that might be bad for people. Let's clean up the
yeah,
vaccines. I heard someone use the analogy of like, if you're saying, hey, we need to clean up the water in Flint, Michigan, that doesn't mean you're anti-water. Okay. So he's not an anti-vaxxer. He's concerned about some of the stuff that's in vaccines, but he's also really concerned about the medical malpractice that goes on because the pharmaceutical companies have bought and paid for just about every agency, every regulatory agency, all of the governmental agencies that overlook that our healthcare in America, and they exploit Africans and like use them as guinea pigs, and they don't care I mean, it's if you look into it, it's a hugely corrupt system. But they did this little nice trick where they knew that if they painted anyone as an anti-vaxxer because of Jenny McCarthy and the
Yeah.
autism thing, if they just used that epithet on people, that it could shut people up. It's the same way, then you can call people transphobic if they're worried about sports or prisons or whatever. And it's like it's just become this thing to shut down the conversation. And that kind of
yeah.
stuff just needs to not be working on us anymore. Like, can we not see through this? Things are not these black and white things. If the corporate media is all saying something, you really might want to
Well,
look into the
yeah.
opposite.
I mean, the thing is if you actually sit and listen to the things he says, it makes sense. But with the
Mm-hmm.
two-party system that we have, there's no way. I mean, if you just look at they are going to paint him in a picture that makes everybody look at him and go, "Oh, that guy's crazy." Like,
Yeah, but one, people are getting more and more tired of the two-party system, and we need to give up that cynical attitude. And two, Biden and Trump will be the worst. Nobody wants that. Nobody
oh,
wants that. I mean, I know some people want Trump and some people plan on holding their nose for Biden, but nobody really wants that. And so this would be the best opportunity we've had in a long time for people to really get interested in independent. He's famous as fuck, has the Kennedy name. Also, he's been doing the rounds of podcasts. He's been on Rogan, I think,
mhm.
hasn't he?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he's been on Rogan, right? And so because it's changing the landscape. The corporate media doesn't know what's going on anymore. With social media and with podcasts, like we can make this happen, but everyone has to give up this little defeatist attitude about, well, independents will never win. Like, yeah, they will. Let's vote. You know how
Yeah.
many of us, 50% of people still don't vote?
And if people don't want to vote third party, why don't we have another box at the bottom that just says
Mhm.
none of the above?
Right, redo. Give us two new candidates. How about that?
Like
That would
redo.
be fun.
Just keep
Yeah.
hitting the refresh page until
Yeah.
Yeah.
something new comes
Better be a
up.
new name on here.
It's like when
That's
you're
not a
checking for
bad
your
idea.
paycheck, you just keep
Yeah.
refreshing it.
No, I think that's not a bad idea, actually. If we could, if you could actually get Congress to pass this shit, yeah, put in an option that says none of the above. And if a plurality of people vote for none of the above, then those two are out.
Mhm.
And you got to get sent us two more nominees. If the Republican and Democratic national parties are going to choose the candidates, then we should be able to turn down. But because if it's always lesser of the two evils, and it's like, all right, no evil for us this year, thanks. New
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be
next,
nice?
yeah.
Like that's the one thing I do actually admire the Trump people for is they believe in that guy. Like I haven't
Mhm.
like believed in a political candidate. It's always the lesser of two evils.
I don't know. I think we
Always.
all believed in Obama for a hot minute there. He just really let us down.
For about a year. And then it was
Yeah,
like,
there was
he's
no
a
hope. Well, he
politician.
had 2 years of, having a Democratic Republic, Congress and Senate and everything and Supreme Court and couldn't. And I think he really wanted to be like this moderate guy who tried to unite the country. And I mean, that's very sweet. But so he wanted to like, not kind of bulldoze the Republicans with a bunch of stuff. And so instead, he tried to be Mr. Moderate, but then as soon as the Republicans got power, it was just like they were like, okay, well, we'll never let you do anything again. Haha. So between that and then also just business as usual, neo-lib, geopolitics. No, there was not a lot of hope and change. But
Yeah.
Why are we talking about politics? Are we
Welcome
supposed
to
be talking about
Politics
comedy?
Today
Yeah,
on Open Micers.
I feel like you guys really shot down Kid Rock too fast, but we'll just move on.
Not going to unite the country, man. Kanye had more of a chance of uniting the country 4 years ago. That's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's just they both have bangers. They both have bangers. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the last Kid Rock banger was a long time ago.
It doesn't matter. Cowboy still bangs. Anyways.
All right.
So we're in
Maybe
Austin.
he could be mayor, like governor of Mississippi. Maybe that's what Kid Rock should be doing.
We would love to have him as
Yeah.
governor
You
of
know what?
Mississippi. Are you
I
kidding
guarantee
me?
you he would win with like 99% of the vote
Yeah.
if he did that.
Of
here.
course.
And he might,
dude.
I'm sure he'd probably do a better job than whoever's been doing it over there.
Yeah,
Old
old
Tanner
Y'all
Tank
literally
Reeves.
live in the worst state in the union, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We for
Can you
sure
name a
do.
worse
No,
state? Yeah.
We're number one in teen pregnancy now.
Yeah.
Well, see, everyone says this. Everyone has this misconception about us now because we used to be number one in teen pregnancy. We used to be number one in STDs. We used to be number one in childhood obesity. And then apparently all those people just moved to Alabama because now they have all three of those things.
Yeah, kind of Mississippi, Alabama goes back and forth. But at the same time, there are some good parts of Alabama, which I don't think is there really any good part of Mississippi?
No, but I've never been to
Yeah.
like the North Alabama, but like I know when you cross the state line, the roads like instantly get worse.
Oh,
over
okay,
there.
interesting.
So it's like, ugh.
I just don't think I've had a single positive experience in Mississippi.
Probably not. But come back. I'll show you around. Here, the coast, I will say, is like an oasis
Yeah.
of Mississippi.
I'm
Like, if
actually
you're gonna
gonna
hang out,
be-
be down here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be coming through in January just because I'm going to New Orleans. So, and I was going to maybe go to Pensacola for a second too. So I might hit you guys up about if there's
Absolutely.
anything
Yep.
around there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do lunch. We'll hang out. We'll show you the spots. So I wanted to ask you about too. So you're in Austin.
Mm.
You've before the big Austin boom, before the post-COVID boom, before Joe Rogan's Club. I mean, you've established yourself on the Austin scene as one of the most prominent comics, one of the top in the area. So what is that like for you, having been established there before all of this? When the clubs move in, the big podcasts move in, the theater acts move in.
I mean, it's pretty great. I was gonna move away before the pandemic. That was the plan because I just could not grow here anymore. And it was sad because I love Austin and I didn't want to move and I really didn't want to go to LA or New York for various reasons. But I was going to, and then the pandemic put a halt on that. And then, Rogan, the Creek and everything happened here. So, and I was like, thank God. And if you had told me, 4 years ago that I would be like, thank you, Daddy Joe Rogan, I would not have believed you. But now I like his podcast. He's a great guy, I think. Some moral blind spots and stuff, but he's like a 55-year-old dude. Like, of course he does. But a great guy in many ways. And yeah, no, for me, it's been, like I said, a dream come true. I mean, part of it is I still did some comedy in 2020 when things opened back up in kind of May. Opened back up to an extent of like doing shows outside of Austin's, most of them outside. And we had the drive-in shows, all kinds of things. But then for the first half of 2021, I went and did a van life thing, like not doing almost any comedy at all. I did like two things, just one time in Savannah because I flew out there, and then another time in like El Paso. But other than that, I took 6 months off, and that was, I'd never taken more than maybe a week off in the previous whatever that is, 7 years. And so when I got back, like the day I got back, my friend Colton Dowling called me up, and he was someone who lived here before the pandemic, and he was now co-running the Creek and the Cave Comedy Club, and he called me up and he was like, hey, do you want to do Big J Ogerson's What's Your Fucking Deal show at the Creek tonight? And I'm like, yep, I haven't done comedy in 6 months basically, but yep. And because partly I had a show, I've been doing a show for a long time. It's called Hecklers Wanted, where I encourage the audience to heckle the comics, and then I give out prizes to the funniest hecklers. And even before that, I'd been doing that weekly monthly for a long time. But before that, I had a weekly show where I would do all crowd work, and then 1 week would be heckling, and 1 week was all riffing and stuff. So he knew that I had those skills, and so like because of that, then Tim Dillon was on that show, and it's Zach Amico and Big J Ogerson and I think Louis J. Gomez. Oh, and Tony Hinchcliffe showed up that night because he had just been canceled like a week ago with the Paying Dang thing. And
Mhm.
so then he showed up and, we made friends and, so it was just kind of great. Like, oh, okay. I was a little nervous. Like, all right, I left the comedy scene and, I don't know what's going on. There's all these new people moving to town right now, and I'm kind of letting myself get away from that. And, maybe I should be there really making sure that I'm in and I am not losing, everything that I've put all these years into. But no, 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 because I knew all the good comics from the before times and they know me. And so, um, yeah, I just immediately kind of got into that thing. And, Rebecca, who owns the Creek, she and I really get along. And so she's always had me on Skankfest. And she's the one who gave me the opportunity to open for Louis at the Creek because he'd been doing theaters for a while, but then he wanted to start doing clubs to like strengthen his material. And so he just asked her who he thought, should feature for him. And I did. And, after a few shows, he asked me if I wanted to go on the road with him. So I got to go on the road with him to do theaters um, this past January. And so, yeah, stuff like that. It's just like more and more things keep happening. And so, part of it is I always tell people, like, even if you don't perform at the mothership, which I do, but even if you don't, like, still more and more people are interested in comedy here, and more comics are coming to town all the time. More and more good comics are moving to town all the time. And not just, Shane Gillis just moved here, and I hear Whitney Cummings is going to. And of course, what's their faces, the married couple with the Your Mom's podcast.
Tom and Christina.
Yeah, Tom and Christina, not just those people, but people who are 5, 7, 10, 12 years in who,
Mhm.
have been in New York for a while or for wherever, and like kind of all the best, everyone kind of knows like this is the best comedy scene now. And if you can get down here, the sooner you can get back down here, the better, if you're really talented and hardworking, because a lot of people are not talented enough. And it's like, don't move here. Like,
Right.
you don't need any more. I don't, but if you are a real comic, then, this is the best. And so it's so cool to now be in a place where I can grow. Like I used to, I go to New York all the time, partly because I wanted to grow. I wanted to keep up with the cultural conversation. I wanted to be inspired. I wanted to feel competitive. I wanted to, watch people who were better than me. And now I get that in Austin. I didn't want to be. The problem with Austin is that I was at the top before. I don't want to be at the top, or at least not yet. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
now there are comics who are ahead of me in this. I get to watch, when Tim Dillon's actually in town, I get to watch him, and Tony and, Brian Simpson's here. He's amazing. So fun to watch. Um, I don't know, even just the comics who are like at my level, like all of us who like, I have a class of people now. Before it was really hard because, in a smaller scene, you have to be friends with everybody kind of. And a lot of them I didn't really want to be friends with. It's like I joke that like I used to have to be friends with losers, but it's like kind of, and you want to do their show and all this, and now there's just a higher quality of people. There's more people. Everyone can't know everybody, which is really nice. Like I kind of like knowing everybody, but at the same time, like you don't need to know every show that's happening.
Yep.
Yeah, and so now just having a peer group where like it's easier to book kick-ass shows. It's easier to really enjoy the show. It's easier to like, yeah, be learning and growing and having that competitive edge, situation there. So it's like it's just the most amazing thing.
Yeah, I resonate with that so much because that's sort of like the situation that we're in Mississippi right now, where there's like one or two people that's head and shoulders above literally everyone else. And it's like, well, we don't really have the means to move. What are we going to do about this? Like, we can't really produce mini shows because there's not a lot of good comics here. So, like, I definitely understand that,
Y'all,
like,
y-
feeling.
what city are y'all in?
So all of the cities down here are so close together and not
Mm,
very big. So it's sort of like the comedy happens in Ocean Springs and Biloxi and Gulfport. Like it's not,
okay.
not like one city because they're all like 20 minutes from each other.
Are there any comedy club?
No, our nearest comedy club's New Orleans, and that's owned by a
Uh,
rapist, so no one works there.
uh, I thought he was accused of dating his students.
So yeah, you could call it dating. He was leveraging sex for like theater gigs.
Oh, really interesting.
Yeah, so we don't
Okay.
work with that man over there.
So why don't y'all start? Do y'all have you'll have a you have shows that you run? You have like a room?
Not currently, because there's a whole host of reasons for that we won't get into on air.
Well, because I feel like you should be doing something like the Jason P. Leonard model in Lafayette,
Who?
where you what?
Who?
Jason, you know
I'm
Jason.
messing with you.
Yeah, okay. Because he's able to, if you can bring in people
Yeah.
who, especially might not be that expensive, but are good comics. I mean, it's like, who can then provide a good show, and if you can do that at least regularly enough to get audiences really interested, then you get those contacts, people are coming in. I mean, if you literally can't leave, that's what you have to do. You
Yeah.
have to become someone who really produces a good show, because it's
Yeah.
great for people like me who love, like, I could fly places more, but I love driving and doing shows where it's comedy audience, where it's like the comics and the people who love comedy come to those shows. It's so fun to do those shows. And if you can pay them decently, and some of it you might need to just pay out of your own pockets, even just to get the comics there so you can watch them. Because that way, if you can get people coming through often enough, and like I can send people your way who want to do stuff like that, I'll come your way.
Well, that's
If you do
something
that,
that
you
me
what?
and Jacob have talked about and have been
Hmm.
planning to do is we got a lot of places here that we could do comedy at that are nice places that we could draw great crowds to. The problem is there are certain people here that have run comedy shows before, and not just one person, like several people that have run different comedy entities here that have
Hmm.
burned so many bridges that it's almost
Hmm.
impossible to get places to want to work with you doing comedy.
Yikes, that sucks. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
We're
know,
we're
but
definitely looking at that though. That's my 2024 plan, is to get a venue that's good enough to where I can kind of just go back through the podcast Rolodex of like getting comics, like really good comics to come here and headline. And then, once we start selling tickets, it'll be the easiest thing ever to just kind
yeah,
of have our own scene.
yeah, because I'm telling you, especially now there's so many comics in Austin, and who, are eager comics. I, can also, we can have a little pipeline where I'll teach them how to tour in the Southeast, and y'all, because y'all are a great little spot on there, because
Mm-hmm.
there's there's Lafayette and New Orleans, and um there's what
Yeah,
am I
because
thinking? Lake Charles,
if you
Yeah.
were to hit
Lafayette,
like
New Orleans. There's
all
a little bit
that,
in Mobile.
Yeah,
see,
see,
because
everyone drives right through us, like,
yeah,
because I mean, I know the guys that are doing this. They'll go, Lafayette, Lake Charles, New Orleans, and then skip over us and go to Mobile,
Well, when I
Pensacola, and all
talk to
that.
people about that, no one ever knows anybody in Mississippi who's doing anything. So no one even knows
Yeah,
about y'all. Yeah, y'all
it's
need to get
because
your
there's like 3 comics in Mississippi,
right.
so they
But if
they
you're
you
just
can
talking,
don't
start a
know
show,
me,
and
and
you're
that's
talking to
that's why they're
two of
not.
them.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like
I'm
if they
happy to
don't
make
know
y'all's
me and
acquaintance.
Jason,
I wish I had met y'all 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, no
But
kidding.
here we go.
Well, we're getting
right?
close to the end of the episode. I did want to ask you about your time on Kill Tony. How was that? You were one of the first local people to be a guest panelist.
Yeah, the first one, because we were at Skankfest, I think the Skankfest in Houston in 2021, and talking in the green room, and he was asking me if I wanted to do, if to, like, if I thought about doing it. And I probably should have just gone on, in the hat. He would have just, put me on, but I didn't know. I was like, I hadn't really watched Kill Tony, or like release. I didn't really know exactly what it was. I just knew it was this kind of open mic thing, and I knew it was this weird. And I just kind of felt like I'm not a very quick joke kind of person. I mean, I do have some, and I could have just done that. It would have, I'm sure, been fine. But I was just kind of like, I don't know if I want to stand in the thing and go into the, I'd heard other people talk about it, and I know some people had bad experiences, and so I was just like, I don't know, man, it seems kind of weird. And he was like, well, why don't you just come do my panel? I was like, oh, okay, that sounds fun. And so it was really fun. He was very kind to me. It was cool. I mean, I thought it was, I wasn't sure. He told me very much before the show. He was like, especially on your first time, like, don't feel like you need to be talking all the time. Like, everyone walks away feeling like that, and don't worry about it. Just like, and she was very comforting about the whole process. It was a little weird, and maybe they fixed it, because at the time when we were still at the Vulcan, um, the mic situation was like we were sharing mics, or I don't know what it was, but it was like, it was a weird thing to try to figure out when you should talk, you had to kind of signal each other. So I thought that was a little unnatural. And so I do kind of wish I'd been able to feel a little more free. But I mean, I had a great time. And they say not to read the comments, but I couldn't help myself. Like I wanted to go see what the comments were in the YouTube, and it was cracking me up because everyone, all these guys are like trying to be funny mean in the comments, and all they're, oh, look at that they them vegan, which is like, I'm first of all, I'm not. You they them to me earlier, but I don't care about pronouns, and I've she her is fine, whatever. I mean, it's fine when people do use other pronouns because I don't think they matter, and I think language can be used fluidly, um but I've never, asked anyone to call me they them, and I'm not a vegan, but I literally joke, like I have my opener jokes about how I look like a they them vegan. So, it's like you're not really bringing anything. It's kind of like calling me gay. It's like, yeah, I'm gay, like that's, and so, and then the other thing is people kept saying that I look like Theo Vaughn, which I thought was cute. I'm like, he's good looking. It's like that kind of like telling me like a boy. I'm like, I literally bring pictures of boys to the barber shop and say this. So I'm like, I'm not, that's what I'm going for. I make a better looking boy than the rest of y'all. So it's not an insult.
Right.
There's like a clip where David Lucas was trying to roast me, famously bad at roasting me. And he, said something about, oh, it's Tony's sister or Tony's brother. And it's like, yeah, yeah, that's not an insult, you know?
Never read the comments ever.
No, I found it entertaining. I
Yeah.
don't know. It didn't bother me at all. It's like, it's a
Yeah.
bunch of incels who are doing that. Like, the vibe that you get reading those is that these people legit must think that Tony reads those comments and that, like, they think they're going to get discovered as a great roast comic if they just keep typing away their little misogynistic comments. That's
You see,
kind of the whole
Jacob,
thing.
it's
So,
never going to work. You keep doing it.
stop it, Jacob.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Those
I will
are
say
you.
I've made the mistake of like joining a Kill Tony Facebook fan group,
Oh
and
no.
like I'm so on the brink of leaving it because it's probably the most toxic fan base of all time.
Yeah. His show is very fun. I still don't really, pay much attention to it, but I really enjoy what he does. I think a lot of it is really fun. It can be very fun to be there live, but he also has a lot of really toxic fans, and a lot of it is like they really like stuff that's bad and mean for its own sake. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
some of us like dark jokes because they're actually making fun of something else, or because they're kind of bringing light to something that is dark or whatever. But if you just tell a joke that is racist, it'll go really well. Like even if it's not really, it has to still be funny, but it's like
Mm.
sometimes it can feel like it is actually coming from a bad place, and it'll still do well. There's just a
Yeah.
weird vibe to that. It's not my favorite. And also like some of the people that Tony has elevated through that, it's really cool. It's really, there's people with fucking diseases and shit and, Down syndrome and whatever who he gives this platform to. And it's really cool to watch people be really supportive. It's like a weirdly body positive kind of show in some ways, like because we can make fun of everybody and it's everyone, I don't know, like there's some real positive aspects to it. But then also some of the people that he's elevated should never have been given any elevation and are actually truly bad people. And I have some insights into that now. Like, and so it's kind of a bummer
Yeah.
that, like, I just don't think Tony is a good person. I'm not sure whether he's a bad person. I've heard some rumors that I'm more weary of him than I used to be. But he's definitely not a good person. He's chaotic, neutral at best. And so he doesn't seem to really care. Like it's all about the jokes for him. It's all about the humor.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really care if like some of his comics are telling pro-rape jokes or might actually be assaulting women and stuff like that. So I don't know. The Kill Tony thing to me, it's like one of those weird things credit-wise where I'm like, oh, it's depending on the audience, do I want that credit? Because it's even the same thing with opening for Louis C.K. For some people, that's not the best credit. But I just, whenever people do say that credit, the Louis C.K. thing, I always, as soon as I get on stage, I'm like, I know you guys are, wondering about me opening for Louis, so I will just tell you, 4.5 inches. And that way we kind
of. That's
all right,
hilarious.
pay up, Jacob.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I do enjoy the Kill Tony show, but I think that like specifically with his fans, they all think that if they were given a minute on Kill Tony, that they would be the ones that are like
I
Tony's.
just met someone last night who's never done comedy, and he said he's been writing for a year, and he wants to go and kill Tony. I'm like, please go to some other open mics for a while and workshop this and become a better comic before you go. He's like, no, no, I
Yeah.
want to be the first one. I'm like, don't do that. He told me it was like 5 jokes and they were all bad, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no. No, those are
Yeah.
not jokes. That's just a premise. That's not a joke. That's not going to work. That's not funny enough. That was a long setup for a tiny pun. Like, yes, the pun was racist, but it still wasn't good enough. And I'm like, just don't
Yeah.
do that.
Like every single one of them think that like they're gonna go up there and like say a racial slur or like a stupid
Get a
like
standing ovation.
edgy joke, and and then Tony's gonna be like absolutely incredible when like in reality they're gonna be like every other open
They're
micer
gonna
that's
eat
ever on that
shit.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna eat shit, and then Tony's gonna roast them, and then they're never gonna do comedy ever again.
And it sucks because it can be a really good thing if a good comic gets up there and
Yeah,
does a good job, you can get a bunch of opportunities real quick and really get catapulted into the Austin comedy scene. You can get a bunch of followers. There are people like I've heard from the people. This is why I regret not just doing the bucket, because I hear from people who've done that people are like reaching out to give them money just to be like, hey, can I want to support you on your comedy thing. Can you give me money? And I'm like, who wants to support me on my comedy thing? I've been doing this for 10 years. Most of y'all have been getting all this shit for free or cheap and whatever. Like, I need the fucking support. I quit my day job. Like, give me this fucking support. But I guess I need to use more racial slurs on popular YouTube shows. That
you
was my
gotta,
problem. When I was on the panel, I should have used a racial slur at some point, and I wasted
you
that
gotta.
opportunity.
It's the only way to kill Tony.
Ba-dum-bums.
The guy had a great story though. The guy I met last night, I really like wanted to encourage him to make sure he does a good job because he said he was got in some kind of accident and he was bedridden for a long time or something. And he happened to because he started typing into the YouTube he started typing in like how to kill myself, and instead Kill Tony came up, and he wound up just watching that for hours and hours and hours. That's how he'd seen me and everything. And so I'm like, that's a great, and now he wants to do comedy. And I'm like, that's a great story to tell after your minute if the minute goes well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just going to be this sad thing where you bomb your ass off. They make fun of you. They tell that story and they're like, ah, that's sweet. Here, have a little notebook.
Right.
So
Or you tell that story and they're gonna be like, oh, you should have done it. Here's a
you should
little
have done, it'll be
notebook.
that. Exactly. Mhm.
Yeah. But all right, we're coming up on the end of our time here. Arielle, thank you so much for coming on our show. Being the last guest of the year with us here. Would love to have you back anytime. Tell everyone where they can find you on social media. What shows do you have coming up? Here's all your plugs.
All right. Well, social media wise, I'm Ellen DeGenderless on Instagram and also on OnlyFans, which, sounds like a funny thing, but they are the OnlyFans people are paying some of us now to like be comics on there. So I put comedy stuff on there and it's free to subscribe. Some things you have to pay for, but it's free to subscribe. A lot of content for free. And then I have a podcast called Politically Non-Binary, which I just realized that might sound like I'm saying like, people will talk about like being politically black or politically, I don't know if I don't, you know what I mean? Like, no, I
Yeah.
mean, my politics are non-binary anyway. And that I have guests come on and confess a controversial opinion to me, and then we discuss it because I'm pretty easy to have controversial opinions with. And yeah, those are the main things, I think. Find my LinkedIn if you've got corporate events and you're listening to this open mic podcast.
Yeah, please. I mean, everyone knows that we are the funnel for corporate events, looking for comedians.
Well, I'm going to put all your links in the show notes for when this drops. So everybody, go follow, go see her live, whatever you need to do, support, because Juz is comedy, no job, need your cold hard cash. You hear me? So
well, I'm also consulting a baby gay and how to date as a lesbian soon. I'm getting paid for that, so I guess I'm not just a comedian. I'm also a dating consultant now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There you go, Jason.
Yeah. Well, Jacob, you got anything planned for the new year?
Nothing that I want to announce right now. So we've got some stuff planned that we're going to be doing over in Biloxi, probably at a casino. We're going to be doing something like that. Can't officially announce it yet because we don't have an official date. But guys, now that this year has wrapped, you've seen the amount of talent that we've brought onto this podcast. You should get into our Patreon so that we're able to afford to do crazy challenges. We're able to do this for more of our time and get even better people on for as little as $1 a month. So go to patreon.com/OM podcast, give us as little as $1 a month, and that helps support us, give you some really great content.
Yeah. I don't have anything to plug right now either. I got nothing planned except for the show we can't talk about yet. But when we do, we will let you all know. So go support us on Patreon. Other than that, we're going to get out of here. If you want to email us at openmicerspodcast@gmail.com. Go to openmicers.com for our blog, and all that other good stuff. Linktree/OpenMicersPodcast takes you everywhere you need to go. All our socials. Give us money, PayPal, Cash App, Patreon, all that good stuff. So that's the end of the year. Happy New Year, everybody. We love you all, and we'll see you next week.
Last burp of 2023. Let's go.
Yeah.
What'd you say, 2023?
It was the last burp of 2023.
Oh, that was a burp? I thought y'all played your song again.
Our song should just be compilations of me burping throughout our history of this podcast.
I thought that was the acoustic music you were talking about.
I still have.
Legitimate. I'm not kidding.
I still have Pepper's burp here. Hold on, let me play it real quick. Yeah, I got that.
Man, why are you clipping burps from people who aren't even comedians, dude?
Because he had the best burp.
Where are my burps at?
Burp's a burp.
Hey, people are gonna have to give me timestamps so I can go back and clip them all out. I don't go back and listen to this show. The show's terrible.
Yeah, it has horrible production.
I feel like
quality.
I burped like a minute ago.
We should clip it.
Yeah.
See if you can find that. One of y'all was talking. I don't know if it'll be isolatable.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching on YouTube, and we will see you all next week.